Hello everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and we are here to talk about the playoffs ahead of the actual playoffs themselves. So consider this a bonus episode. Like, comment, and subscribe on your way in if you like this. Definitely leave a comment if you have an issue. Leave a comment, and again, like, comment, and subscribe. So let's get into it. We're going to start off out east. We actually didn't talk about all NBA teams, but we can, we also have time for that as well because there is time before those come out. Although we did talk about the individual awards recently. Now, I guess the easiest way to go is from top to bottom. So the first, the Cleveland Cavaliers are probably going to face the winner of either Miami or Atlanta. And just the way that Atlanta finished that game, I think it's probably going to be Miami. I don't know if you guys disagree with that, but if you don't, then Beyond, I'm going to start with you. How do you see a Cleveland Miami series going? How long is it going to be? And is there any like questions that you have? And same thing to coach.
Uh, well, firstly, I'm not sure Miami's gonna make it. I'll just say that I'm not sure. Uh, I always like to go with the best player in the series, and right now, because of I still feel Trap might be Trey Young,
Yep,
and I
that's
think
fair.
he's gonna have a moment. He usually tends to have a moment around this time of year, and they're at home. So, and Miami still, I've never sold for a team that doesn't score a lot. That always has issues like they scoring. They always have little lulls where it's like, okay, they're hot for a second, they're not. And I think Atlanta, they are thinner, but Miami doesn't really have the great fearsome front line kind of like how they had to deal with the other night with Orlando. So I think it's tough, but I'll go with your thing with Miami. I think they get 5 games. I think they get one game and Cleveland dismisses them. And if it's Atlanta, I say Trey Young wins them one game perhaps, and they also get 5 games.
Yeah, and before Coach goes, I'll just say really quickly, I don't have a lot of big questions myself about this series. I do have questions about other series, but I think Cleveland. I know Donovan Mitchell gets a lot of flack for whatever reason. I will keep saying this. He shows up. It's about the other two guys, but I mean, they will get to the second round at bare minimum, and from there it'll be interesting. So, Coach, your thoughts?
Same. I have Cleveland winning in five. I have Miami beating the Hawks. I like I like though Miami's length up front with Wiggins, Bam, and Ware. That's a pretty decent front court when it comes at least for defensive reasons. Then you had Davion Mitchell and Tyler Hero. Now Mitchell's going to be a complete pass, I would say, on Trey Young. And even if they, assuming the Heat win in that Cleveland series, it's not a matchup nightmare. I don't view it quite as that, but I just don't think they have enough talent to deal with Cleveland. So I would say Cleveland in 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that wraps it up. Sorry, folks. Yeah, that's all. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, there's just not much to talk about when Cleveland's been so dominant and so locked in all year. I know that Donovan Mitchell did have a slump, close to the end of the year, but at the same time, he was injured, and they managed that injury pretty well. I think they're going in healthy. And that's what matters. And they have the depth. They made depth moves at the deadline, adding, Hunter, of course. So I think that Cleveland is poised to, start off their playoff run really strongly, and go from there. The next is obviously going to be the 4-5 matchup with the Pacers and the Bucks. Now, this is a little bit interesting because it's a bit of a rematch from last year. So there's these teams like to get a little feisty sometimes. As to be fair, a couple of other teams in the East that we'll get to as well are a little bit feisty, but or fiercey. So, yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm looking right here. Bucks obviously with Giannis will have the rebounding advantage in some ways, but Pacers defensively did kick it up near to the end of the season. I don't know where they rank. Where each respective team ranks on the year from offensive to defensive, but I think Pacers are relatively healthy. They should be good. My main issue is actually their wing players and how those match up against guys like Kyle Kuzma. But on the Buck side, is Dame like I know he's been cleared, but is he truly going to be healthy? Coach, I'm going to start with you on this one. Dame is your guy, um, so perfect segue. What do you
It's
think?
interesting because I Milwaukee will be the better defensive team because I'm just looking at some of the numbers here, and Indiana. Well, Indiana's about 14th. They're about midway through the pack, just under. Uh, yeah, they're just under Milwaukee actually. And the offensive rating, we're looking at Indiana who's in ninth, and Milwaukee who's in 11th. They're literally the inverse essentially of each other, but like the gap isn't too far offensively or defensively between the two teams. I Dame's my guy. Giannis is the best player in this series. However, with Dame being out for as long as he was, I do worry about that. So I think last year I did pick Milwaukee to win this series, but I'm going to roll with Indiana this year. I think Indiana another year together. Pascal had a really good year. I'm rolling with Siakam and Matherin and Halliburton on this one.
Yeah, I mean, Siakam's always played well against the Bucks for the most part. He's always had good series of things, and I'm not saying it's a complete soft, but he tends to hold his own with Giannis. So when you look at the Lillard situation, I tell you one thing: Halliburton has to kind of like he has to make Milwaukee pay,
Yeah.
and and I think one of the things I think and just thinks that folks think I only pick on the guy on this team, and this comes to young players. Halliburton has to figure out a way to develop more of a low post game or a mid post game because when you're 6'6" or 6'7" or wherever he is, and you're playing small guards for the most part Milwaukee has, you gotta make them pay, and that's the way you can make them pay. And just shooting jump shots all day and 3-point shots, that's not going to cut it. In a way, jump shooting ends up reducing your height advantage a lot of times. We see a lot of times with Embiid. As long as when Embiid starts a playoff series in a playoff game, he'll be right in the paint. And then as the game goes on, you'll watch him drifting further and further and further till the time he hit the fourth quarter, he's out there shooting threes like he's Larry Bird. And at that point, then you can guard him with anyone 6'9", 6'10" if he's just going to shoot 3-point shots. Then that's why a guy Al Horford could play him in the fourth quarter of those games. They say when they played Boston. I think that the same thing is a bit with Halliburton. Like he has to find a way to get close to the hoop, be it attacking off the bounce or posting up to make those small guards pay in Milwaukee.
I think those are good points. I mean, to me, Halliburton is someone where I've always said his pull up release is too slow, and when that speeds up, it will also open things up for the rest of his teammates because him having such a slow, I guess, mechanistic release. It's almost like you lose the advantage. You need to create such an advantage for him, or he needs to create such an advantage for himself, which he is able to with his handle, just to get the shot off.
Yes.
And so that's not a problem that's going to be solved today. It's a little late for that. That's an off-season issue. But he is healthier this year than he was going into last year. That is for sure. Um, I guess my main questions is about like guys like Jarris Walker and where they kind of fit into things because between him and Neesmith, you have guys that for Raptors fans are about like a little bit bigger, but around the same size as like a Mobo or a Ochai. And when you have guys like that, where those are your primary wings, it's challenging. Matherin can punch up, but defensively he sometimes gets lost in the shuffle, especially off ball. So there are matchups that they can exploit if the Bucks are fully healthy. I mean, Siakam's going to show up again. Always gets flack from a lot of people, but he always shows up in against the Bucks. I mean, people focus on like the welcome to a moment in time type things, but I mean, throughout a series, throughout games, like throughout, not like maybe the very last moment, but throughout it, he shows up. And he showed up last year when a lot of people doubted him. Now, I'll make one other point with this. Siakam's splits actually against the Bucks are 51, 36.5 or 36.8 in terms of the field goal and 3-point percentage. Where I think there might be a challenge is if the game gets tight and Siakam has to go to the line with tired legs. Um, Against the Bucks historically, he has shot about 69% from the line. That's not good enough. Coach.
One thing that worries me about Indiana, though, their leading rebounder, Siakam. Giannis, sorry, Siakam and Turner almost combined average like one rebound more than Giannis. Like Indiana does not rebound the ball well with their bigs. You got Giannis who's averaging like 12 rebounds a game. So if Indiana is struggling to make shots, it this will turn to Milwaukee, I would say, because Milwaukee technically is a little bit bigger. Adding Kyle Kuzma, not a bad pickup for them. So they are bigger up front. They already were big up front with Giannis and Brooke Lopez. My concern is Dame going to have enough time to acclimate back into the lineup? Because they've been fairly healthy this year to my knowledge anyway for the most part. So we'll see how this series is going to go. This is a series that could go 7 games.
Now, I know Beyond's probably going to mention Hallie early on in the season and how Siakam has kind of carried those. All I'm just assuming. I could be wrong, but I agree with the rebounding aspect. Beyond, your thoughts before we go to the next series, which will be the 3-6 with the Detroit basketball as well as the New York Knicks. Beyond, your thoughts.
I just want to say you mentioned a name that obviously was not in the run last year that I am looking forward to see how he plays in the postseason because if his college career was anything when it came to money time, I think Mathurin is going to be something to watch. And with that slow bench lineups that they have, I don't know who they have to defend him. I think you can see him going off for some quarters where it's like, oh my gosh, he's just taking over the quarter. So
Yeah.
watch Mathurin in that series. That's all I say.
Well, I mean, like I put it this way, right? You have a lot of people will focus on, from a Raptor standpoint, you want like, fast moving assists. The thing is the more you pass the ball, it's also every single pass, assuming that you have decent people who can handle the ball, every single pass is a chance for a turnover. And so they're going to have to work on the turnovers. I remember when they faced the Raptors early on, it was turnover fest. I think that they have corrected those things. I think that the chemistry has grown since then, and there's a bit of continuity there. But when the game slows down, can they still make those post-entry passes? And are those guards going to look like chickens running around with their heads cut off? Or are they going to be a little bit more disciplined, slow down the ball, and get the ball, and basically execute? Because that's really what it comes down to. Or come down to crunch time, of course. Serious predictions, I guess.
Um, Give me Pacers in 6.
Coach,
Pacers in 7.
I'm going Pacers in 6. The Dame factor is, he's been off for a little bit. Him coming back, I don't know where his conditioning is at, and that is a big factor. Now, on the flip side, like it could be a scouting report thing where you jump a team and they're not quite ready. But the Bucks are definitely going to punch back, but the Pacers have the pieces to win, and they should win in 6. This is a team that they're relatively familiar with, and to be fair, I think the Bucks, as much as I like Kyle Kuzma as what they did, losing Chris Middleton is huge. That's tough. So we shall see. I know some people are Doc Rivers fans, so we will see. He's a good. He's
Well,
had moments,
the
but he
thing in
also
this
panics.
series, though, is Rick Carlisle and Doc Rivers. These are guys who somewhat are on the bubble coaching wise, and if one of them loses in the first round, we saw Taylor Jenkins and Mike Malone gone. It'll be interesting to see. Now, if it goes 7 games, it might not be the case, but if someone gets swept, let's say, or ends in 5, someone's job might be on the line. Let's just put it that way.
True, very true.
Giannis ain't messing around.
Yes. Yeah, no, no, no. I mean, we will see what happens. So the next series is obviously the 3-6. It's going to be Knicks and Pistons. I'm not going to say this is the most interesting, but I think this will be the most closely matched series in a weird way. Um, the main questions that people will have is like, okay, here's an interesting fact. The Pistons actually well out rebound on the season the Knicks. And you wouldn't think that because at first you're thinking, well, the Knicks have Cat. Cat's always a good rebounder, but he is foul prone. And that is very dangerous. And that could come into play with this series. The Pistons, they take no prisoners. So whether they win or they lose, you will feel the wrath in terms of how they play. They ain't afraid of no one in Motown. So I think that's the first thing. I think beyond that, they're actually even points per game. It's like 115.8 versus 115.5. Like they're very evenly matched in a lot of other categories. The Knicks being a little bit more mature, they are going to be better equipped from an execution standpoint, and that shows up in the assist counting stat. But they only have one more assist per game. It's very interesting to look at. Obviously, there's the Cade factor, but just from a defensive standpoint, and I'll start off with the resident Pistons fan. Who is guarding? Like, how are they going to deal with Karl Anthony Towns if he can keep his fouls down? Because that is going to be, I think, one of the keys.
The question is for me or for Coach?
For the Pistons fan.
Oh, okay. I think they'll start off with Cat. You know what? They might get, if they want to get unconventional with it, it might be ideal in some ways. They might actually start off like Tobias Harris playing him. And the reason why is that was an attack that Dallas took last year, essentially forcing Cat to be a post player, which he didn't feel comfortable doing. So in some ways, they might trap him into that idea of like posting up. Now, I think Cat overall this year has been a better post player. And, I think he worked on some stuff and realized that was a definitely Achilles heel last year. So I'm not sure I would go to it initially. If we play more standard and conventional, then I think the assignment in my mind, I think goes to I think Duran on him initially and just see where it goes from there. I think he's more disciplined. And he's got the physicality in this case to make life tough for him when if he gets in the mid post. And usually, people don't think Cat as like a physical player, but on offense, he's a very physical guy. And he'll bull his way into the lane, and I think Duran's the type of guy that can help. I think the other part that is fascinating is like the other way around. Who's guarding Cade? Now, I personally, if I was a Knicks fan, I would start off taking my chance with Bridges. I would not, because I'm personally, my years watching OG play Cade and the few times they played, it has not ended well. I'll just put it that way. Obviously, they'll take turns, but I would start with Bridges if I was the Knicks and Tibbs and start with that on the assignment. One thing I think the difference between the two teams is I think, and I don't know, but you guys tell me, even though the Knicks have the bigger names, obviously, Detroit, in my mind, has a few more guys that can kind of get their own shot. And I think that is going to start weighing heavily as the series goes on.
So when you're saying guys who can get their own shot, how many guys are you talking about? Like if you were to say, how many guys you can trust? Is it 4 guys, 5 guys? Like how many guys would you say can, in your opinion?
I think right now I could say for sure, I think I could say, if my man Ivy was here, definitely be on the list. But I think right now.
I forgot to bring that up actually in the preview.
Yeah, I mean, if Ivy's on this list.
Unfortunately for them are not fully healthy because Ivy is not available, but yeah.
I think right now I feel good about 3 guys that can get their own shot. Obviously, Cade, I think Thompson, and the third guy, I think right now, in some ways, more of a spark plug to get things off. Sasser, in some ways, could get his own shot. I think depending on the matchup, Holland could do so, but I don't think he's quite there yet. But if he gets the right matchup, I think he could. And I think when I look at New York's side, really, if you get past, Brunson, Cat to some extent with the right matchup, and then perhaps Bridges. Bridges could do so. We've seen him go off or get 40 in this case in the Garden at Christmas, right. Pulling up all over the mid range, going crazy. So Bridges could do a little work from there. But I feel good with my guys in this case because when the Knicks get tight, everyone just passes the ball to Brunson. No one looking to make a play. Right. It was hot potato time, grenade time starts happening. It's like, here, please take it from us. And I'm going to work on. There's a certain thing with the Knicks, and I think the Sixers in the same category. I think the Raptors in some ways are in the same category too. There's certain playoff atmospheres that in this case here that that quite honestly the fan base needs to be on the couch at sometimes. And if you just get in their head a little bit, you can start feeling the anxiety in the building. The Garden's one of those places. Philly's one of those places. Here in Toronto is one of those places where if you just keep within a possession or two, you can hear the murmuring happen. Folks start getting nervous. And all I know is Detroit just need to get one of those first 2 games, man. That's all I know. So I'll give it to Coach, man. I'll give my number afterwards. I mean, Unless you want me
Yeah.
to give my result now.
No, 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 you can give it after. What I will say is just in terms of, I don't know if Asar can quite, he can get to the rim. He doesn't always, just from the speed and athleticism thing, and from a defensive standpoint, he's like he is going to be one of the X factors in my opinion in this series. But in terms of getting his own shot, I don't think he's quite there yet. But he has improved this year. I mean, he's shooting 22% from deep. So from a pull up standpoint, he's from deep. It's not there. But like overall, he's still shooting 55% from the
Yeah, because
field.
attacking the hoop. That's what
So
I'm talking about.
yeah. So which goes back to my point of attacking the hoop. So he's an interesting weapon. I think that they have if I'm not mistaken, they still have Malik Beasley with the hitting the hand. So I mean, they have guys who can definitely make the kick out and optimize on that. Coach, your thoughts? And then after your thoughts, you could start with the number, and then we'll go beyond, and we'll end with me. We'll go to the next series.
This is going to be an interesting series, I think to watch. Isaiah Stewart's physical. We know some of the things on the court, stuff like that.
Please.
I look at the Knicks bigs. Honestly, I don't think they're that physical. Duran is physical. Stewart is physical. Oscar Thompson. I'm putting him on Brunson right away. Like you're starting your guard Brunson. You're gonna be a pest all
Physical.
day long. Yeah, Thompson is physical. You got Cade, who's almost averaged a triple double this year. Like I'm so pleased for him. All the injuries that he's been through. Watch Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. just drain threes over and over again
Holland's
this year.
also physical too.
Holland is physical. There is part of me, I want Detroit to win like in four, like just sweep them because I can't stand the Knicks. But uh, I think it's going to be a good series. However, I do know that they have multiple wing players, the Knicks, you can throw on Cade. Like Beyond said, Mikal Bridges, like Beyond said, I was at the games that Cade showed up with Detroit and OG was on the team. It wasn't good. Cade destroyed him. So if I'm the Knicks, I'm starting it with Bridges. But the good thing is with that, it's not just going to be Bridges or OG. You're going to be able to put both of those guys, Josh Hart. They have multiple wings that they can put on Cade, so that's kind of in their favor. Towns is going to be a tough guard for Durham because Towns can step out, shoot threes, and stuff like that. So, and like Beyond said, on offense, he can get his and be physical when he wants to. It's defensively that he's not as much. This could be this is going to be an interesting series. I think it's going to be a physical series. Best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean the way that I look at it before you give your number, coaches,
Yeah.
there's a world where if everyone was given truth serum, I don't think the Knicks wanted this smoke. I
I
I
agree.
I think that the Knicks would have rather have played if given the option, the Pacers, for example,
Mhm.
um, the Bucks to a lesser extent.
Mhm.
Yeah, actually, I would say the Bucks and the Pacers would have been a better matchup for them.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm not, people who think I'm just a Pacers, but no, there's teams. I always go into this and think there's sort of like a rock paper scissors type thing that goes on in some of these matchups, and if you get the wrong one, well, paper just always beats rock, right? So that I think that's where I'm at. Because the Knicks are so I think it's going to be a 7 game series. I think because the Knicks are so scarce at the center spot, if they have to over rely on Precious Achua, they're going to be in some trouble, and Tibbs might not have a lot more of his comb over left by the end of this series. I think it's going to end up being the Knicks, but I think that they're not going to be happy in the next round because they might be hobbled, and I think it's the Knicks in 7.
I'm going to pick the Knicks. I'm going to pick the Knicks in five. It's only the experience factor with Detroit, their first time being there, and the Knicks they've been there multiple years and stuff like that. That's the only reason why I'm picking that because I is to your point. I don't trust Tibbs in the playoffs. I don't. The record's not there with Tibbs with playing guys. 40 plus minutes a night. I get it. That's kind of required a little bit in the playoffs. That's more of a conference finals. That's not a first round, second round thing. If you have to try to avoid that if possible. And he's done it like all year. He's got Josh Hart playing 38 minutes a night and Bridges 30, almost 38 minutes a night. OG 38 minutes a night. It's a lot of minutes.
Give me Pistons in 7, man.
I love it. I do.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys were getting to my X factor for this series, and it's going to call attrition. The Knicks, in this case here, barely play 7 guys on a good night. Okay, so now we're going to playoffs, and you're playing the Detroit Pistons. I'd be surprised they got 5 good, healthy bodies by the time we get to game 4. Okay, so I am, and I think the thing is with Detroit, too, is, yeah, they're a young team, but they got a lot of vets that have been around the block a little bit. Tobias Harris has been a lot of wars. Tim Hardaway's been a lot of wars. Beasley's been around the block a little bit. And then the thing is, too, they're, quote, young guys. They don't come off with the attitude like, ooh, we're going to be scared. Them Thompson brothers, they don't give a damn about anything. Okay. Okay. All right. You throw that in there. I don't think Cade's going to get shook or anything like that either. B Stu, you have to ask him twice.
That dude moves different.
to get started. So I don't. Duran's gonna do Duran's. I don't think none of these dudes are sitting there going like, "Oh man, it's the mighty Knicks." I don't think there's any fear factor going on here. So like, I think Detroit's gonna go in there, look to take names and numbers, man. I like the Pistons in 7.
Yeah, I mean, I'm picking 7, but I'm just picking the other team.
Detroit goes 9 deep.
I think that they're just gonna the Knicks will hobble their way out of it, right? But they're not gonna be happy.
This is the one series I hope I'm wrong. If I'm being subjective, I want the Pistons to win in 4. I'm going to be the biggest Detroit Pistons fan in this series. I know Beyond will like that.
Yeah. Hey, man, come on board, man. You remember about 3 weeks ago we did a quick little East review, and we just essentially talked about these 3 teams, Milwaukee, Indiana, and Detroit. And I said at the time, as the Pistons fan, I want the Knicks. I said so. Yeah. I said, no, I didn't really want Milwaukee, and Indiana was a little awkward in this case here, but the team I really would say is I prefer is New York. They're right for the picking.
Yeah, and I think just as an aside, sometimes people will say, well, I'm not going to vote for, root for X, Y, Z for whatever reason, because of Cade, because you don't like Cade or whatever. I mean, I'll just say if it has to do with Scotty Barnes, remember, them 2 are boys.
Why? Once again, why is Scotty Barnes in my Detroit discussion?
I don't know.
Okay,
but I know a lot of people feel a particular kind of way about Cade. That's all
I'll tell you this much: Piston fans don't talk about Scotty Barnes, folks.
No, they don't.
I've been in some Piston spaces. They don't. They don't care to talk about him. Okay, so find something else to talk about.
I guess right before I go to the what I think is going to be the easiest series to make a prediction on. The final thing that I will say is that yes, like Detroit has had a phenomenal season. What I will say though is OG's end of the year has been impressive. However, we have seen him have these stretches before. So what does it look like in the playoffs now? Because now you're going to be you're not going to jump people and be lower down on the scouting report. You are going to be a focal point. And so what does that look like? The other thing that I will caution people on is not to take anything away from OG, but you got to look at how the points are being made, right? As a lot of it is on cuts. He's in right place, right time. I'm not seeing him just generate bucket after bucket after bucket like he is Kawhi Leonard. So I'm just interested to see. He has improved. He does look better, although he still looks awkward. And as you would say, walk around with the piano on the back and stuff like that. So, I mean, hey, but we will see. I am rooting for the Pistons as well because I like the younger teams. I'm always, in general, I'm trying to root for, either an underdog or, in some cases. So, yeah. Celtics and the Magic to round out the East. Yeah, this is just not really interesting. I mean, without Suggs there, I just don't think that the Orlando Magic can generate enough of offense to sustain themselves. What they're going to now, here's the interesting thing. I didn't know this. I learned this recently. Orlando is one of the best teams in the NBA at defending the 3-point line and running guys off the line.
It took it from me, but I was sitting there going,
Yes.
"Oh, it
So,
won't be interesting, huh?"
so if the Celtics go cold, you could see Orlando getting a game or two at least and making it an interesting series. They play physical. Obviously the Celtics are the Celtics. They're a well executing team. I think, second row Joe or Joe Mazzulla is literally a maniac in terms of how he coaches. Sometimes it's a little bit much, in my opinion, but cool. But either way, either way, I think it will be an interesting series from that standpoint. One other thing, though, we have a battle of the generations. And what I mean by that is, given that a certain team that should have won and got their butts kicked in the tournament, it will be interesting to see how the Dukies end up facing off against one another.
Duke on Duke crime.
It is. It is going to be some Duke on Duke crime. I know that those two guys are up for it. They also know each other quite well. So it'll be interesting. But I do wish that Suggs was healthy in this, because it would really make this a lot more interesting. But if that was the case, they probably wouldn't be the seed that they are. Coach, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to start with you, because last time it was the Pistons thing and I went with the Piston man.
Celtics in 5.
Okay, damn.
Yeah, no Suggs in the series. I don't trust Orlando's size matching up with the Celtics. Matching up with Porzingis. I'm assuming Porzingis is healthy. Wendell Carter 6'9", 6'10". Goga, yeah, he's all right, but I'm not sold without Suggs. I love Paolo. Paolo's a great player. I love Franz, of course. I like their young players, but I think there's just the Celtics have too much offensive firepower, way too much.
Yeah, Jet Howard would have to rise from the ashes and just like just destroy. It's out of nowhere, almost not playing, to like suddenly like dude scoring like 16, 17 points in the playoffs to really make a difference, in my opinion. But go beyond your thoughts.
um, I'll give my prognostication up front. Boston 6. I think this is going to be a much tougher series than people think. This is the matchup I actually wanted last season. I was looking forward to that because Orlando's played Boston quite well over the last couple of years. I'm not sure how it was this year, but last year they used to give them a heck of a time. And the physicality of Orlando, they're probably the most physical team in the entire playoffs. Just pure physicality. I don't think their team is more physical than maybe OKC's up there with them, but Orlando, man, they're gonna get their pound of flesh. Like I mean, like, so I don't know. Boston has also been beat the Joe Mazzulla slash. Well, just put it this way: the last 3-4 years, be it Missoula or Ime or Stevens, Boston is a team in the playoffs that's played with their food quite a bit. Right? There's been plenty of series where it's like, oh, Boston should win this series, but because they play the 3-point game, they're always susceptible for having a stinker or two in a series. And we saw it one year with Miami, where essentially they pretty much were cold for 3 straight games. And I think they ended up losing the series in 7. It was a weird series where everyone got beat by 30 or something like every game. So except for that one crazy game, that game 6 in Miami, which was something else. But I think to me, my Boston playing that high wire act of relying on the 3 as much. Now I will say this, I will give him props. Speaking about Duke, I do like what Tatum's done to his game this year. The mid-range game has looked a lot better. He's not giving me a steady diet of threes all the time. And I think that's why he's had probably a better season overall, because when it gets tough on the 3-point line, he's been able to kind of generate some stuff in the mid-range and even get the hoop. It kind of reminded me of his rookie season. He seemed like he forgot he could dribble. I was like, hey, I can dribble? Oh, they allow this in the rules. Okay, good for you, Jason. So, that's something else. And I think also, too, like Boston's obviously deep, but they're not the most physically imposing team in this case here. They have a few physical players like Holiday and stuff, but overall they're not the most physically imposing team. I do wonder if a series like Orlando just wears them down a bit more with their legs for those 3-point shots. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's an
yeah,
inverse too with the both teams. Sorry, just my
yeah. I don't know.
Boston's second in offensive rating, Orlando's second in defensive rating. So you're literally getting the inverse of each other. Sorry, my bad, Kenya.
No, that's good. I actually don't have the team stats up from that standpoint. I have like the points, rebounds, and assists, so it also does help. Yeah, like to me, I want to say six, but I think it's a six in a different way. It's going to be an easy six. I think the way that I look at it is, to your point, Boston's going to, one of the two first games they're going to lose, and then they're going to get serious. And I think Orlando has just the physicality to get one more win out of that, just to show like some pride there, because they're a very prideful team. They don't give up. But ultimately, I just think like the only reason I'm saying six is because I think Boston, to your point, they will mess about with the first little bit, and then they'll get serious.
Well, those two front court guys in Orlando, man, they draw a lot of fouls, and the defensive assignments for Boston will be interesting because
Yeah,
one of the Jays are gonna have to defend one of them boys. Maybe not both of them, but one of them have to defend one of them. And then it's like Joe Mazzulla have to figure out how he finds a way to navigate that.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, Porzingis is not that nimble. So I mean, it'll be interesting. And while there is a little bit of an element of like, you know, I think that the Magic will be struggling against the rim protection that Boston can provide on the defensive end. They're physical enough to just say, I don't care. I'm still going to come at you every single time. And that's tough to deal with. So yeah, so that rounds out the East people. Take a beat, go drink some water, and we'll pause the video, and we'll be right back after this. No, we don't have a commercial break, so we'll just keep
Oh, but
we'll
hey,
keep rolling. But you can stop on your end.
we got
Uh,
sponsors.
yeah, no, exactly.
You're holding out on us.
That's right. Yeah. Not today, not yet, but one day. Yeah. So right in terms of the first, Western Conference playoff seed, is it going to kind of go the same? It's going to be the Thunder, and to me, the Thunder are most likely going to play the Mavericks. I almost said the Magic. Sorry. Um, Now, we may not be in consensus here because some people might think that they might face the Grizzlies. But to me, when you just fired your coach recently, that worries me. Can Ja maintain his health throughout an entire game? Right? I'm not talking about a series, an entire game where he's, we will see. Zach Edey is very interesting, yes, but defensively, there's a lot that they can throw at even like a Triple J and whatnot in the Mavericks side of things. The sad thing is that Kyrie is not healthy, and I just wish that Kyrie was healthy because it would be a lot more interesting to me. Uh, Now, as you know, since Beyond switches allegiances a lot, he is also our Mavericks fan. So
Man,
I've got quite a,
I lived in a world before the Raptors existed, man. So I watch. So
I don't blame you. I mean, I tell people this. I am a Raptors fan, true and true.
yeah.
And I also caution people: do not question other people's fandom, or dictate fandom to other people. But growing up, I lost my team. Where I lived, I
Yeah.
was the Grizzlies. And actually, funny enough, I followed the Grizzlies for a long time when they were coached by Hubie Brown and all that. Shout out to my favorite coach, of course,
Yeah.
and one of the best announcers, to be honest. And he shocked them too because he coached that Grizzlies to, I think it was at 50 wins or
50
something like
wins or
that.
so. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a pretty
Yeah,
impressive
I
team.
think it was Gasol's breakout season actually too.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just before I go back into that, people say certain teams are mid, and it's funny. I heard someone say that the Pacers, for example, are mid, and they compared it to other teams. But they won 50 wins this year, so I'm just gonna point that out. Is that
I would
you
love to
know
be mid and be like the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I would love to be that
that
type of team.
that is the type of mid that I want to be. Yes, yes,
Yeah, can we get to that stage? And for
yes,
Raptor fans to say so, like
yes.
guys, man, you might
That
want to look in the mirror, fellas.
that's where you can start building out of a middling zone and start like making decisions. But I digress. Going back into this, yeah, Mr. Mavs. Do you see the Mavs making it, or do you see it being the Grizzlies?
I do see Dallas making it, but it's not going to be easy. I even with the injury possibility of Morant, that team still has a fair amount of depth, and they too, is one of the few teams in the Western Conference that can match up with Dallas when it comes to size. So that is not, the size factor that we usually have as an advantage as a Mavericks fan, that will be slightly negated tonight. Since we're doing this on the play-in games. I still like Dallas there, and if we're going Dallas OKC, I give respect to OKC. They won 68 games, so I think they win. I think OKC wins this in 6 if they play Dallas.
Thank you.
Hey man,
I know a lot of people keep doubting, not you, and a lot of people have some sort of hate for my man Shay and the banjo guys, but hey, that's a close knit group. Coach, your thoughts? Who's making it to even face the number one team in the NBA? Actually, 68 games won this season.
I'm gonna roll with Memphis. If Kyrie was playing, I might have a different opinion. I know John Morant's listen is questionable for the game against Dallas. I think he'll probably end up playing, but I think Beyond had said Memphis is one of the teams that has size that can match up with Dallas, with Edie and Jackson and Aldama and Clark. Like they get some guys. I'm not so much they're going to be outside of Edie, tough with Lively and Anthony Davis and Gafford. But I do think that Memphis offensively, I trust a little bit more than Dallas. Memphis is a top 10 offensive team this year and top 10 defensive team in rating this year. So I'm going to roll with Memphis, but
they're
Memphis
kind of
playing
twins,
OKC.
actually. They're kind of twins. Like if Kyrie's healthy, you look how they're built. They're almost built
Yep.
identical. Like if you see how they're built,
Yeah.
it's like okay, Clark, PJ Washington kind of plays that power forward role in this case and stuff like that. Twitchy guard that kind of generates the offense on both teams. They got a power forward that could play inside but prefers to be outside. Play like Triple J, AD, both two great two-way players. It's essentially this.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same team, but to your point, the Kyrie might be the difference between the two, but we'll see, man. I hope I
Yeah.
get
I
a
got
clip tonight, man.
I
That's all.
get I got a cheer for my man Gigi on the bench because he ain't playing.
Gigi, man. Gigi's always ready to go, man. Gigi get up 10 shots quick, man.
He has been buried a little bit, with the
Oh, we've been
emergence of
buried. Oh yeah.
yes, with the emergence of Jalen Wells and other guys. I mean, shout out to
Yes.
Zach Edey. Zach Edey, no matter what, will be how they use him. And again, I know, looking back, it's like my thing for him on the Raptors is like, was he the right guy for us? I don't know, but especially not defensively because people have to remember they have Jaren Jackson Jr. to help a lot, but. Man, the way that they use him and the way that he can just eat up rebounds is just incredible. Also, shout out to the 2028, to future 2028 Team Canada. Hopefully, we will get Zach Edey on that run in LA and show the Americans who's boss. But yeah, Coach, you were gonna say once assuming so you're assuming that it is the Mavs. Can they beat
Memphis.
OKC? Oh, you got Memphis? Okay.
Memphis and OKC. Yeah.
Is Memphis putting up anything against OKC or no?
Healthy, go 6 for OKC.
Okay.
Triple J and Edie are going to be a problem. The only thing I worry about with Triple J, he's fourth on the team in rebounding. Like Aldama and Bain average more rebounds. And he's not a great rebounder. We all know that. But that concerns me a little bit. He needs to become a better rebounder in the long run. Because everything else he does super well. He shoots threes, guards, he blocks shots, wants to rebound just a little bit more. That's all.
More than likely going to be Defensive Player of the Year. You know,
Mobley.
It's either him or Mobley. I'm fine with either. My hope is
too.
Mobley, but like he is there. Now I will say, in my opinion, I don't care who it is. I think it's I'm picking OKC in 5. I think OKC has learned from their lessons last year. They made the second round. I think defensively they learned how to win without bigs, but they don't need to do that. I think that they can go big, they can go small. They have just way more chess pieces. Talk about 9 deep or 8 deep. They're 10 deep. They're 10 deep. they just have so many chess pieces that they're able to and willing to put on the board. And some of these games this past year, like they were literally just trying that and testing things out. You know, a team is ready for things when they're just testing things out, and they still, muck about and win 68 games. Winning 68 games is no slouch. And so, I mean, I can see it going to six, more likely with a Memphis than with a Dallas because Kyrie. But I'm thinking that the Mavs are going to win this, and so for that reason, I'm going to go five. So yeah.
Can I just give one rebuttal in Dallas's favor?
Yep.
If we're looking at Memphis and we're looking at Dallas, I have the most talented front court player between the two teams, and that is going to cause issues for OKC.
Yeah,
that's my argument for why I think in this case Dallas could get another game. So,
but do you have enough people that can establish him in the post, and is he willing to go into the post?
I think in the playoffs he'd be willing to go into the post based on what I've seen the last few years.
Okay.
I mean, he's played Jokic whenever they played Denver to a solve. Like everyone talking about, oh, Jokic is killing the Lakers. Go look at AD's numbers in those Denver games.
True. I mean, he is incredible, to be honest. There's no other way to put it. Yeah.
Like until he got hurt, the series they lost to Phoenix that year when he got hurt, like he was killing Phoenix. Like, people forget the Lakers were up 2-1 in that series until he got hurt.
It's funny, like, because they played the Raptors recently, and it's like he had like no one talked about it, but like AD had a triple double like easy.
He was leaning to he almost got quadruple double. He had like 8 blocks.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
AD is a top. I believe he's a top 5 talent in the league when he's healthy. The things that he can do at both ends of the floor. The only other guy maybe is like Giannis, and AD's a better shooter than Giannis. Let's just put it that way. He's a more natural scorer when he has to be.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to the matchup though. If we can get there, that's the thing. Can I get there? Should have put my Mavericks hat on today, man. Can we get there?
And I think you guys said OKC in 6. I'm bullish on OKC, so there you go. But no one's going against OKC here.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Tests will come, but we will see. Next is going to be the very interesting, suddenly in flux, Denver Nuggets versus the Clippers. And, this team has faced one another multiple times throughout the past 5 years, 6 years even. I think it's going to be very interesting. And from the standpoint of the Clippers and Mr. Terminator, I think he's coming for blood, and he's coming. I'm presuming that he is healthy, even though he typically gets hurt in the playoffs and stuff like that. But if he is healthy, even the moments that he is healthy, it's so clear that he is just a better dude. Like if I heard someone explain this to me, it's like if he spawns in, right, like some dude in like the Matrix or something like this, right, like, and he's ready to go. Like it's just he is a top 5 player in this league without question. When healthy. It just seems to be a common theme. They also do have Zubac. They do have all that in the kitchen sink. I know Jamal Murray's Jamal Murray. There's no doubt about it. But Jamal Murray has moments where he does do a potential disappearing act as well. And then he will reappear at the end and be big time. So I want to just see, is Jamal Murray healthy? Is he ready to go? If he is, then I don't doubt him. But yeah, Jokic is Jokic. I mean, there's not really much more. I mean, both teams. This is going to be a very interesting series. But I will give my prediction. But I'll already, just to give a hint, I am leaning towards the Clippers, and I think it's going to be. I'll just say it right now. I say Clippers in 6.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go one better than you, man. I'm gonna go Clippers in 5, man. These guys get put out the pasture, man. Denver's begging to be put out the pasture. Okay, like when it's all said and done,
they just fired their coach.
Yeah, and also, yeah, and GM, and you got the ownership talking about, yes, put it on me. It's like, yeah, it's easy when you're the owner say put it on me. It's like, yeah, you know what? And let me put this here: Because I don't, you say in this case, oh, beyond, you want to be bashing on Jokic, blah, blah. Let me tell you something right now. Besides the one season where they won the championship, all the Jokic love and all you little stat boys out there and all you analytics fellas out there, oh my gosh, gushing over the wonderful Jokic and how the beautiful numbers look and it's so historically wonderful. Look at that. It's better than Wilt Chamberlain, all sorts of other stuff. And quite honestly, right now his career is looking very much like Wilt Chamberlain when it comes to postseason. One championship for Wilt Chamberlain. One championship for this dude. And one thing with Wilt Chamberlain, at least he stayed in the court for most of his playoff series when he lost in this case here. What has been proven in this when it comes to Jokic, the temperament is not there, people. 2 times he's been tossed out of games in the playoffs. One time he got tossed out of the game at the end of the series as he was getting tossed out of the game. He was MVP that year, by the way. And as I said before, I had to check someone about 2 weeks ago about this, about how they're trying to say, oh, all this, how come Jokic is getting love like LeBron or Steph in this case here? And I say, you know what, buddy? Flip it the other way. Because if LeBron and Steph had got whooped their tail by 30 points on the home court as the defending champions, good Lord, I said in this case here, they have Congress doing an investigation. All right? They'd be out there asking questions like, what happened here? Who did this? What happened here, Steph? What happened, LeBron? Should we get more authorities to look into it? Jokic, he used to go home and go ride his horses, and no one says a word.
Yep.
No one says a word. Got whooped twice in that series. And in Game 7 on his home court, everyone's favorite player, the malign, the one and only Rudy Gobert, giving him the business in the fourth quarter. Could you imagine that happened to Steph and LeBron? So I put people on notice.
I just want to add one thing before you finish, which is that, and I had to check people, I had to remind people, because people said, no, it ain't that year. No, it is that year.
It is that year.
The year that he got an MVP, 2021, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He was MVP. This is actually the first time he won MVP, not the second time. He got swept. Last time I checked, can you guys think of any other MVP that has gotten swept in the same year?
Multiple times.
MVP.
He's the only one.
Yeah, but he hasn't gotten swept multiple times the same year that he won MVP.
I thought it's twice it happened to him. It happened to him with Phoenix, I think. And I think,
that was the Phoenix one. But the other one was before he was MVP.
Okay. Well, it's not Golden State. No, did they get a game against Golden State that year when Draymond was kind of punking them? I can't remember if they got one game. They might have got one.
I think that they might have got one. But
but
no other person who has won MVP that same year has gotten swept. And if
right.
you are the best player in the world, then you shouldn't be getting swept. Simply,
I don't know
anyone. Period. Done.
Right. And I'm going to tell you this, folks.
Barkley didn't get swept by Jordan.
I don't know. Of course not. Watch carefully, folks. Watch as this series goes on. And it's actually very good to see because the team they're playing with the personality that's the lead of their team, who's the polar opposite of Jokic, watch and see how this is going to play out. Because if LA gets on top of them early in this series, you're going to watch a Jokic implosion of historic proportions. I tell you as I sit here right now, man, because right now Jokic does not take well in this case when his team is down. And I'm just sorry, just call it what it is. Let's put it this way. If you're down 3-1 in this case, I don't see Jokic rallying the troops to win a series like LeBron did. I don't see that happening. It has not shown me in 10 years that's the case. So, there's a lot of people that pick on other people's personalities like Embiid and others. Fair game. But Jokic gets a pass, like a hall pass, like no one's business, man. Watch this series. It's going to be an interesting series when it comes to personalities and emotional status and EQ, emotional intelligence. I am looking forward to this one. The psychology of this series is going to be fascinating.
Coach.
Yeah, I am a Jokic fan. He is my number 2 to Dame Lillard. But in this series, I have the Clippers winning in 5. Clippers winning in 6. Clippers have been going under the radar all year, in my opinion, because they've always come up short, it seems. Jeff Van Gundy is a defensive coach this year who helped Boston last year win them a title. I think is huge for this team. They got James Harden playing some defense. So you got Kawhi Leonard, you got Big Z. There's one key in this to me that I'm definitely going to be the only one who will say this, I'm sure. I want to know where I can get out of Ben Simmons in a series. I want to know. He's given me 16 minutes a night for the Clippers ever since he showed up there.
Forgotten man.
Forgotten man. Yep. Ben Simmons, I just want him to play defense and pass. You don't have to take any jump shots. You got no worry about it. You don't even have to take any layups. Don't worry about it. I want you to play defense and pass the ball. Play pick and roll if you have to. Keep it simple. Because if you get 60% of Ben Simmons on defense, that's going to be a problem for Denver. Because Ben Simmons defense in Philadelphia, that was first team all defense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There were some games he was guard Gobert when in Utah when Embiid was out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he could be a bit of an X factor. It's a small one, but at the same time, as Kenyon said, Kawhi Leonard, he's back. And if he's healthy, I don't trust Denver's wings. They don't play defense. Michael Porter, Thorry's not there. Jokic does not have the help that he had when they won the championship. Everyone's either gotten a little bit older or they're gone. I just don't trust that. And firing your coach 3 days before the season ends, I've never heard of that before. And coaches need time. I know they just looked over to the next guy up, David Adelman. I get that, but it ain't Mike Malone. So
Yeah.
I just think that so many things working against Denver in this series right now.
Yeah.
And like Beyond said, Jokic, depending on how this series goes, you got the one center who's going to be able to match up with him physically to a degree. And that's Zubac. He doesn't have to score, but Zubac is going to be a pest to him. Jokic will still get his numbers. I still think he will. But it ain't about numbers in the playoffs. It's about the W. And I think Harden's had a really good year. Kawhi's playing well. Norm Powell. I got to roll with the Clippers in 6 on this one.
My X factor in the series, coaching.
Ty Lue, good coach.
Yep.
It seems like ever since he got stepped over, he's took that personally. Shout out
when
to
he couldn't
the
when he couldn't have his own staff with the Lakers that time. They took Frank Vogel instead. I can imagine he took that a little personally too.
He did. He got stepped over there too.
But
It's always
LeBron,
the Lakers.
But LeBron got his coaches though, right? Like LeBron got his coach, right? Okay.
LeBron chose Frank Vogel. I never in a million
over Ty Lue, right?
Over Ty Lue. Would I ever believe that?
Yeah, we're supposed to believe that, right, Coach? Thank you for pointing that out.
No.
Oh man.
LeBron would probably choose me to coach instead of Frank Vogel. He might choose me.
But LeBron here bringing all his guys. Okay.
LeBron would definitely choose you over Blatt, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But
yes, he would.
Speaking of LeBron, the next series is going to be the 3-6. Lakers ended up 3. The Timberwolves had a late surge and ended up the 6th seed.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, I do not think that this is the matchup that the Lakers wanted, and I think that Ant is going to be wired all night, ready for this series. I will get to my prediction down later, but I have a couple questions about it. Ant has had an incredible year. Probably one of the best scoring seasons that we've seen as a combination of like 3-level scoring in a very long time, if ever. He's just, a lot of people doubted him shooting up those shots. I still think that, I prefer him to play a different way, but we know that he now has this in his arsenal. And the way that I look at it is, and that is not a carte blanche for every single player in the NBA to try this either. You got to get the basics down first. You got to be able to do what he did first, and then you try this. But the fact that he can still turn it up when he wants to, still yam it on people, that dude's a dog, and it's hard to bet against him. And ultimately, I think in terms of the front court depth, Minnesota has it. And if the Lakers had Mark Williams on their team, or if they had another center on their team other than Jackson Hayes, be a different story. I think the Lakers aren't going to get swept, but I think that this could with LeBron being LeBron and Luca being Luca, Luca is also I've mentioned the emotional thing before you be on with Luca as it pertains to him, because remember the Olympics and that sort of thing, and I said you said I said my man Shane, you said Luca, and I said Luca always gets emotional, so this is the thing. Um, the emotion can fuel him. And he also has his mentor there, his favorite player there, that can kind of be more steady as a rock and has been in some pretty tough situations.
I tell you, boy, thank God. I can only imagine when Luca actually had his head on straight, man. It says he's in the two Western Conference finals.
Yes.
like Luca, honestly, this is probably the first
series. 7 games for me.
7 games. I think this is like what I think this. Okay.
You have the Lakers in what?
The Lakers in 6, maybe. I might even say 5. I think the Lakers in 6.
I just think that there's just the front court. I mean, mind you, it's like Rudy Gobert. So
that's my point. It's Rudy Gobert, right? Because I'm looking at the other way. They're going to play Rudy Hachimura at center, and fine, Rudy's not. You're not going to run an offense through Rudy, but on the other side, Rudy going to be going up the 3-point line for Rudy Hachimura. I've seen that play before. I've seen it.
And people, I remember people trying to talk me into it. Oh, he's actually good on the. No, he's not. He's not good on the perimeter. He gets hung out too dry and has always been getting hung out too dry.
And I always like the team with the best.
Okay, you know what? I'm switching. I'm only switching because they have the 2 best players, 1 and 2, and it's just I'm sorry. It's just like the Lakers are going to go to the second round.
The Lakers have a luxury that I don't think. Let me think here. I'm just running through my head. They might be the only team in the playoffs that has this luxury. They have 3 guys to get their shot at any time. 3 guys.
I still think that the Ant has enough to punch back and at least not get swept.
Oh, that Minnesota won't go down the thing, but I think the story right now,
say 5 games.
You still forget about another factor in this case, and God bless him, I do like him, but man, it'd be rough for Julius Randle in the playoffs. Okay,
I didn't mention that because I know that some people have real issues. So as I said, I just immediately switched to Rudy to save Mr. Randle, who I believe is also a Duke man, isn't he?
No, he's Kentucky boy.
Kentucky, sorry, my bad. Boy. Right, because it was the 2 Kentucky guys that got traded.
All I'm saying is I don't know how Minnesota's going to deal with the switch for Luca on Rudy or LeBron with Rudy. I don't know what they're going to do with that because that's all they're going to get is pure pick and roll and Rudy out there in deep water with one of those 2 dudes.
They will ignore him. They will just ignore him.
Oh, I'm talking about defensively.
Oh, okay, yeah.
On to one of them.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there going we saw what Luca had to say to them last week. He dropped that 3 in their grill. You had to see the Rudy. I know, Coach. What do you think, man? I don't think I think.
You've changed my mind. Okay, fair enough. Coach, your thoughts.
Coach.
This is a more interesting series. I have the Lakers in 7, and this is why. Jaden McDaniels will be a problem because he's one of the top wing defenders in the league. He's going to be on Luka or LeBron, whichever's on the floor. You mentioned the Rudy factor, but the Lakers don't have really a big either who's going to be a problem. If they had a stretch big on this team, I'd say the Lakers in 5. I don't know if the Jackson Hayes or Koloko or some of these guys or Vanderbilt, they're not going to step out. So Gobert could probably be around the rim. Now you're going to say about getting on switches. If that's going to be a problem, they'll put Naz Reid in, and then they'll put Jaden McDaniels at the 4. That's what they'll do. You're going to see a lot of Naz Reid in this series. It'll be matchup driven.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Coach, from a Naz Reid standpoint, who's guarding Naz Reid?
I can see a couple guys that could guard Naz Reid well.
Could be LeBron at times.
Okay.
Yeah, could be LeBron, Hachimura. I think this is another interesting series because there's some pathways that it could go, but I think the main thing is I think the Lakers have the 2 best players in this series in LeBron and Luka, and how they process everything. And I know Luka is just more like he'll pull up and shoot threes and shoot from half and stuff like that. he is good at processing, similar to LeBron. I'm not comparing him like saying he is LeBron that way because he's not. But when you have two talents like LeBron James and Luca,
Yeah,
oh man, that's
it's hard to bet against.
it's hard. I would love to see this series go 7 games, and if Gobert might be playing off the floor in this series. I know
That's
Beyond
my
has spoken
He,
about
he,
that.
he
yeah.
might be played off the floor by the second
But
game.
but Minnesota has someone else who technically I think could be a starter on most NBA teams in
I think
Nasri
it plays
at
in the Lakers.
center.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think it plays in the Lakers' favor because I think they're trying to set them up to play them. Because I see the Lakers doing what Ty Lue did to them a couple of years ago, where they played small ball and Rudy, and it's 5 out, and Rudy's running around with his head cut off. And it was not Rudy's fault in some way. The personnel was part of it too. But I can see Rudy Hachimura could be playing the 5 for them in fourth quarters, and
Could be.
then all of a sudden, like, there's no place for Rudy to hide. Like, I can easily see that scenario playing out.
Yeah.
If LeBron wasn't 41, I think he's 41 or something. If this is LeBron
40.
4 years ago. Yeah, if he's 40, I might say Lakers in 5. But I just wonder with Father Time, is the longer this series drags on, and I know he's an incredibly conditioned athlete. I worry about that part with him just a touch.
Well,
I'll just say one thing about the LeBron factor. The fact is that he doesn't have to be the top dog on offense, and that
He does
allows
not,
him to
which
be
helps.
to save all the juice for the defensive end.
And he'll need it.
And
Luka don't play
need it.
defense.
Yes.
Reeves is
yeah,
he's all right, I guess, but
yeah, but Vanderbilt will get the assignment on if he's out there to get the assignment on Ant-Man. I just like LeBron. One thing with LeBron, man, LeBron might take an L in this case against one of the seasoned dudes. Maybe it's Kawhi or Steph or something like that, or Jokic. These young bloods, they ain't getting that scalp in this case here, man. We saw it happen with Memphis a couple of years ago. They talking that type of smack in this case here, and he's like, "Yo, go head back home to go eat some grits, man. It's a wrap for you dudes, man." Like, these young bloods in this case don't know what they're dealing with when you get to springtime LeBron. They think they should watch this old man here in the middle of February. Nah, dude, that'd be a different beast when you get to springtime, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's, like I said, the league is lucky that they did not. If they had a proper center, I would probably pick them to go through the West. To be honest,
Mark Williams, you mean?
yeah.
Jackson Hayes might surprise you. Who knows?
He certainly will not.
Wait, well, though.
Not defensively.
Know your role in the playoffs. That's my biggest thing.
Oh, no,
Just
no.
there's a thing. Beat Horace Grant. Beat Horace Grant.
I
Know
am
your
not a
role.
Jackson Hayes fan. I'll just put that
Oh,
out.
who is besides his family? No one's a Jackson
I
Hayes
don't
fan.
even think his family is, but that's a whole other discussion. The final discussion here, the final discussion here is going to be the Rockets, the 2 and the 7 seed, the Rockets versus the Warriors, of course. This is a very interesting matchup. I feel like this has the potential to also be very interesting, and it could be a very long series. However, I am, from my standpoint, I'm looking at depth being a major factor in this one. I think Ime is no slouch of a coach. And I think that while the Warriors will have Draymond, they will have, Jimmy, and they will have Steph, the Rockets, I don't know actually with this one, because Steph is Steph, and they have some incredible things. I'm trying to talk my way through it in either direction. I want to say that the Rockets, but you know what? I will go with the Rockets, and here's the reason why. Steven Adams is incredibly massive as a human being and can basically rebound as a one-man wrecking crew and hold off 3 dudes with one arm while still rebounding on the other end. And we saw the struggle that the Warriors had right before this to get to this point with Zach Edey. Now, he's not 7'6", no, but he rebounds like he's 7'6". So I think that alone, I think one of the X factors is going to be Sangoon because I could see him getting played off the court in this one, and that's going to be interesting. I know a lot of people are Sangoon and Sabonis fans. I've heard people wanting Sabonis now on the Raptors. And I'm like, no, thank you. They're like, oh, he can stretch the floor. I'm
No.
like, he takes two threes a game, people. Two
Six
threes a game
nine.
is not
No.
is not volume shooting enough to yes, last year he also shot above 35% on 1 3 a game. That's not enough. But back to Sangoon, I think I do like that they oriented their offense a little bit more to trust him more, but there is the Rockets are no slouch. They have some gritty players. They've had some players who've been in battles, whether it be Dylan Brooks, of course, Canadian, ever apparent, annoying person on the court. I think they have a Thompson twin that they can definitely toss out there and make a life a living out there for someone. I think that the fact is they have a dude who can be a dude if when he turns it up, which is Jalen Green. So they have a lot of pieces, and to me, I just like teams with a lot of pieces and a lot of moves that they can put on the chessboard. I mean, that's just the way that I look at it, and I think that the Rockets have a little bit more oomph in that direction, especially since the Warriors are deciding to sit a guy like Kuminga. It's gonna be it might be a longer series. I'm gonna go 6 with Rockets, but I ultimately see the Warriors failing in this one. So yeah, Coach.
Go with Golden State in 6. Some of it is experience that I'm picking here. Fred's going to have to do a lot of work. He's going to be chasing Steph Curry around again for at least part of it when he's on the floor. I don't know if you could have him on anybody else, but I think Jimmy Butler was just we've seen playoff Jimmy. He just turns it up to another level. Golden State was 7th in defense this year. Now, people might not think that they have all the pieces that they've lost and they're small, but they're still 7th in defense. And Houston was 3rd or 4th, I believe, in defense. But I think Steph Curry, just how much attention he gets from other teams. I could see just Jimmy feeding off that. I think Pods was, he nearly shot 40% from three. I'm just going to go with experience on this, but I think it's going to be a close series, but I'm going to roll with the Warriors in 6.
Okay.
I was thinking Rockets in 7, but the more I think about it, listening to Kenyon's comments, I'm actually moving to Rockets in 6, and here's my reason why. Because one thing with Ime, God love him or hate him. What I love with him though is he's assertive. Like he ain't trying to kind of wishy-washy decision making. And it won't take him long to figure out in this case here. And this is the reason why I thought this young man should have been the all-star representative for Houston. Because I think what's going to end up happening is people are going to see a breakout from Jalen Green because he's had a great season. And people always crapping on this guy. I don't know why. I think he's a fantastic young player. I think he's a guy you could build around, and he gets after it. And I think people are going to realize this watching the series, like, oh, snap, I didn't realize this case here. And they're going to realize it real quickly. Because what they're also going to realize is, hey, I love my man. I love the librarian. But when it's all said and done, there's going to be a decision that Ime is going to make very quickly in the series and realize in fourth quarters, I can't have Şengün out there. And it's going to have to be Steven Adams. Because there's no player probably left in these playoffs besides LeBron James that has more experience dealing with the Draymond Green, Steph Curry pick and roll than Steven Adams. he's gonna put him out there, and obviously we know Fred knows how to deal with it, and he's gonna deal with those guys there because I suspect either Thompson and Fred are gonna flip flop on Steph. I think Thompson's gonna be pretty much a Swiss Army knife. He'll gonna get some of Jimmy, and he's gonna get some, of course, with Jimmy as well too. I think sometimes they might put even Jabari Smith on Jimmy at times. I think they're going to try. And, of course, Dylan Brooks and Jimmy is going to be like a heavyweight fight. So, that's how it's going to start off. So, I can only imagine what that's going to be like by the first quarter. So, referees going to be watching that very closely. I think, and also, too, I think at some point, and someone here is a Pistons fan, there comes a time when you're a dynastic team and you see the age and the rust dripping off the franchise. And it starts to show in small plays. A young player jumps a little higher to get the rebound over Draymond. All of a sudden, Steph gets his pocket picked by one of the little young guns, like Jalen Green or something like that. It happens before your eyes. You're sitting there going, oh, what happened? I remember seeing with the Pistons with the Bulls, and all of a sudden it's like, yo, we're in the games, all 4 games that we're in the series. People think it's like, oh, Bulls ran over Detroit. You watch those games. Those games were tight games to the fourth quarter, and then the athleticism and the young legs took over. And I think this might be the same thing we're going to see in this series here, where it's like, you know what? Thompson or Green are going to make, or Smith are going to make some incredible play that the Golden State Warrior team right now, based on their key players, just can't make at that point. And I think, and I think as great as Steph is, he doesn't have the same type of aura like a LeBron. Like, I don't think in this case here, folks are going there saying, ooh, we're scared, like playing Steph type of thing. Steph's been taken out before in previous series. So I don't think, I don't think it's one of these things where it's like saying everyone's like, oh, scared and stuff like that. I think these guys, especially the personality they're coached to, they ain't coming here fearing anything. So I do like Rockets in 6 more. I talk about. I think about it. They got enough tools in the toolbox to deal with what Golden State has in my mind.
Now, just quickly about just the second round, just from that side of things, we won't go through the whole second round, but if it ends up being Rockets versus Lakers, who are you taking? Because they played each other quite closely, and they had some good games in the season. And that is definitely one where you could probably say more and more the center situation might get interesting.
Yeah, that's a problem because in that case,
yes.
neither of them are going to get saved this case here. So yeah, they're going to have to play small ball at best with Jabari Smith, and then they're playing the Lakers game at that point. So no, I would like the Lakers in that series.
Oh, you're going to go with the Lakers over say Steven Adams
in pretty easy fashion.
Okay. Who do you guys have going through the East? Who do you have going through the West? And we'll the next time we talk, we will go through things like the conference final stuff. But it just offhand, yeah.
And I could give you my conference finals things. I think. Well, since I just said that, I think I like Lakers. That boy, I tell you that. So with Lakers,
do you think that the Clippers will make it, or do you think that the Thunder will make it? I guess on the other side of the bracket.
That's 4 or 5, right? I think the Clippers are going to go through, and the Clippers are going to play OKC. See, you always got to worry about the injury factor of Kawhi, but the depth, they got enough depth to match OKC.
They do,
and they got enough front court size to give them a little bit of trouble. I don't know, man. I know your team. I like SGA too, man.
I'm not betting against SGA. I'm just going to tell you that.
I'm just saying. I don't know, man. If everyone's healthy,
talk me out of it. But I do think that would be like a 7-game series.
Yeah, I honestly I'm thinking more and more if that does come to fruition. I kind of like an all LA conference finals, man.
It'd be fun. I mean, I know it's something that they've wanted for a long time, the Subway Series type of thing. But yes, but I mean, I think for me it's OKC's going through the West.
I mean, young teams, man, the NBA, man, like you got to take some.
This is not their first rodeo, though.
True, but it's only their second rodeo. And you need a lot of rodeos before you get there sometimes, man.
Sometimes. Yeah, I agree sometimes, but I mean, you know what it is? It's the fact that Shea had the summer that he did, and then the fact that, like, one of his, good friends, Lou Dort, was with him through that summer, and they lost in that fashion. And it's like those dudes came into the year hungry.
Like, it's very similar to, like, MJ and the Bulls. It's like, yeah, the issue was never MJ.
No.
If you go over the hump with Detroit, the issue was who's coming along for the ride. Until Pippen started clearing up migraines, then it's like, okay, we can finally do what we got to do. And Horace Grant decided not to be shook. It's like, yeah. So until I can see something from Chet, which is kind of his version of
I'm not worried about Williams. I know everyone keeps asking about Williams. I'm not worried about Williams. The person that is the biggest question is the person that was injured last year, which would be Chet.
Well, I think the opposite.
I'm just saying he's unproven in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Chet's going to bring it. I'm more concerned if Williams can actually create enough offense with his skill set to do what he's got to do when SGA is either not in the game or SGA can't actually dominate the game because they're just blitzing him. What can he do? And I think that's my point with the OKC. And I think until with young teams, that's what it comes around. It's never the star, the primo star guy. Is the other two stars that are in the mix. Can they come along for the ride to give the confidence to all the bench guys? And that's the question mark. I got the sickle over the head when it comes to OKC.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. My East, I would just quickly say, give me Boston, And I guess you know what? Yeah, give me Boston, Cleveland. I think when it's all said and done, that's where it.
Coach?
I'm in.
What seed are the Lakers?
Toi.
We're on the other side of the OKC bracket.
They're on the other side. I
Yeah,
got OKC and the Lakers in the conference finals. I have Boston and Cleveland in the other one. I have OKC and Boston in the finals.
Um,
I
I have
I
the
get the,
same as you guys, but on the East, I have the Pacers versus the Celtics, and then the Celtics are going to win.
I got the Celtics. I got another one more time, man. Based on what I'm thinking right now, Celtics Lakers. One more again. Here we go for NBA supremacy. One more time.
That'd be a fun series, but I think ultimately, I will go with the Celtics just because by the time you get to that point, it's a war of attrition a little bit, and like the Celtics just have
Yeah.
way more to just toss out.
And I just
Again,
trust Boston over Cleveland too because of the backcourt. I don't trust the Garland Mitchell backcourt against big guys. And Holiday and White, them guys be up and they shoot.
is
Yeah,
there any way that you guys could be convinced that the Pacers can beat the Cavs?
I can.
Okay.
I yes, I can. Because going back to what I said about young teams, once again, it's Garland and Mobley coming along for the ride. Ain't Mitchell's the concern. It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Pascal usually does a pretty good job at guarding Mobley too, for whatever
Exactly.
reason.
Also, I think no matter
That'd be
what,
interesting.
no, like from who's guarding who, I don't think that they have anyone who's shutting down Pascal throughout a series from the Cleveland standpoint. But they can do a pretty good job. I mean, they do have two guys down low that can make it pretty tough. But Pascal's having a pretty good year, and I think I love Mobley, but I just think that the Pacers they might have just enough to kind of make it through, and I don't like two small guards. Yep.
If Mobley does not, if Pascal can basically does whatever he wants against Mobley, I want Jaren Jackson for Defensive Player of the Year.
Votes will be in by then, Coach. Our vote's already in. It's too
Yeah,
late.
it's too late, man.
Unbelievable.
It's
It's
a
not a knock
regular
against.
season award, man. Don't
It's not a
worry.
knock against Pascal, but I just think Mobley, with being 6'11", stuff like that, it's these type of moments in games where you
Yep.
have to step up and show it, right? Uh, Pascal's great. He ain't LeBron. Okay, you Pascal's also a little bit older now too. I'm not saying that he's ancient like some people do and that he's on the decline, but I'm sorry if that comes down to that matchup, Mobley's going to bring it.
Yeah.
Here
Yeah.
and said, man. Two
Yeah.
breakup guys to watch in these playoffs, man. Mathurin and Jalen Green, man. That's my picks.
Yes. Yes. It's gonna. The playoffs are where stories are born. So I'll
Yep.
leave it at that. This has
Oh,
been Basketball Rewind. Any of you have a final thought before we get out of here? Because this is a longer one, but it's a good one. Yeah.
well, to quote the great Isaiah Thomas, man, when it comes to the playoffs, he says, in the regular season, you make your name. In the playoffs is where you make your fame.
Yep, that's it.
Good one,
Couldn't have
Coach.
said it better. Yep, that's it. I what beyond said.
Okay, that's all, folks. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, that's what we think of the playoffs. Playing is over. We even had a chance of saying like if then else. So people stay tuned. We will probably for now be doing stay tuned for draft talk episodes. We will be covering the end of the season for the Raptors at some point. However, we want to do it in the right way. We want to give you a full, immersive experience on that. So,
Debriefing.
debriefing.
Alive? I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, exactly. But in all seriousness, I'm just busy, so that's why. And I would rather talk about the playoffs right now because that is pertinent, and the Raptors aren't going anywhere. So yeah, that's that. Take care, people, and peace.